Hi, the SI meteorologist Paul Dorian here on Wednesday, February 12th. A major East Coast storm will greatly impact the I-95 corridor between D.C., Philadelphia, New York City, and Boston in the overnight hours, right through the day tomorrow into tomorrow night. That storm is already having a big impact on the deep south with widespread snow and ice. Snow should move into the D.C. metro region after the evening rush hour, perhaps 6, 7, 8 o'clock in the evening. Then to Philadelphia around midnight, New York City area after midnight. It will continue as snow in all three mid-Atlantic big city locations throughout the rest of the night and into the early part of Thursday. It does look like that snow will change over to sleet and or freezing rain into the I-95 corridor, even into the northern and western suburbs of the big cities. That mixed precipitation could very well then change back to accumulating snow late tomorrow and tomorrow night. The best chance for the most substantial snowfall will be in the northern and western suburbs of the big cities, all the way from D.C. to Boston. Areas to the south and west of D.C., for example, Charlottesville, Virginia, Culpeper, Virginia, Warrenton, Virginia, up to Frederick, Maryland, Downingtown, Pennsylvania, Pottstown, Pennsylvania, here in the southeastern part of Pennsylvania, the lower Hudson Valley, and then west and north of Boston. That particular zone in the north and west of I-95, north and west of the big cities, will likely be the bullseye for the heaviest snowfall accumulation over the next 24 hours or so. Well, one of the best ways for forecasters to kind of gain confidence in a forecast for an upcoming event is to try to go back in time and pick out some analog cases that had similar characteristics to what is about to occur. Give some credit to the Philadelphia National Weather Service forecasters. They look back in time to see what kind of storms were similar in characteristics to this upcoming event, focusing on two particular areas. One is it had to have a strong and intensifying coastal storm track, and that particular storm track is indeed what is unfolding here for this upcoming event, and that is a favorable storm track for snow in the I-95 corridor as it moves off the mid-Atlantic coastline. However, unfavorable position of the high to the north for snow in the I-95 corridor. Again, the high pressure system that you would like to see anchored in southeastern Canada or New England for a snowstorm here in the mid-Atlantic region will indeed shift off the New England coast over the next 6 to 12 hours or so to an unfavorable position for snow. So what happened in analog cases when you had that kind of a scenario with the coastal low and a favorable track for snow here in the I-95 corridor, along with a high pressure that was not in a favorable zone? Well, this particular case on January 25th of the year 2000 really mimics what I believe will happen over the next 24 hours or so. So let's walk through that before we get to the very latest NAM model run. This is the upper level map for that particular storm. Again, we're looking at January 25th of the year 2000. All these analog maps available from the Penn State eWall site, a very valuable tool for forecasters. Very healthy looking upper level trough going negatively tilted in the southeastern part of the country helped to spawn a powerful storm along the East Coast back in January of the year 2000. Now here's the surface map for that particular storm, January 25th, year 2000. Low pressure situated right around Norfolk, Virginia, just off the coast. And that high pressure, which had started here on this particular storm, indeed moves off the northeast coast, very similar to what will happen in this upcoming event. In other words, the storm track itself is pretty favorable for snow in the I-95 corridor, but the high pressure system is not. This red dashed line represents kind of the rain snow line for this particular event. That too is very similar to what will happen over the next 12 to 24 hours or so. A rain snow line will develop oriented from the north to the south, basically a coastal front that will move from the east to the west during the morning hours on Thursday. So the changeover will first occur at the coastline and then interior parts of southern New Jersey, for example, then all the way back to the I-95 corridor. Even in the northern and western suburbs of the big cities, there can be a changeover to sleet and freezing rain for a while. Then that storm pulls off to the north and east, and colder air wraps around from the north and west, and this coastal front kind of stops in its tracks and goes back in the other direction from the west to the east, and snow returns to the big cities and all the way back to the coastline later tomorrow and tomorrow night. Well, one final point of comparison between this January 2000 storm and the upcoming event before we start looking at the current conditions. This is the colorized infrared image from January 25th of the year 2000. The surface low pressure at this particular time was situated right in this region, right in here. But notice here this area here that we call the cold conveyor belt on the northwest flank of this particular storm in January of 2000. It's cold because the winds are out of the northeast in this particular part of the storm, and it's a conveyor belt because moisture wraps around the surface low pressure and then moves into this part of the storm and dumps snow in this particular flank, the northwest flank of the storm. This had a very impressive cold conveyor belt, a wraparound snow situation back in January of 2000, and I think we will experience that as well later tomorrow and tomorrow night in the I-95 corridor. So the bottom line, this particular storm ended up causing a foot of snow in and around the D.C. metro region and a foot of snow in and around the Philadelphia region, despite the fact that the heavy snow at the front end changed over to sleet and freezing rain for a while. So in this particular analog case, it leads some confidence in a forecast of perhaps a foot of snow in the northern western suburbs for sure for this particular upcoming event, despite the fact that the high pressure moved to an unfavorable position. So this analog case, again, very interesting and I think very similar to what will happen over the next 24 hours or so. Well, let's take a look at some forecast maps from the very latest, the 12Z NAM model run here on a Wednesday morning. This is the 500 millibar forecast map from the NAM for this evening. Very strong, negatively tilted, impressive upper level trough here of 500 millibars. Again, very similar to the January 2000 situation. This will help to generate an intensifying and strong coastal storm over the next 6 to 12 hours or so. Here is the surface forecast map for this evening, about 7 o'clock this evening from the very latest 12Z model run. Notice that high pressure off the New England coast, similar to that analog case. Low pressure developing here off the Mid-Atlantic coastline. Snow has not yet quite reached the D.C. metro region, but it pours in there just after this time in the 7, 8 p.m., 9 p.m. time frame, and then around midnight in Philadelphia. Well, here's the forecast map. 6 hours later, about 1 o'clock in the morning, we'll increase the. We'll take a look at 6-hour increments right into tomorrow night and Friday morning. By this time, the snow is well underway in the D.C. metro region, reaches the Philadelphia region late in the evening, close to midnight, for example, and then just after midnight in the New York City metro region. Still low pressure here, situated off right around the eastern part of North Carolina. Let's jump ahead 6 hours later. And here's the forecast map for tomorrow morning, about 7 o'clock in the morning. That low pressure is situated right near Hatteras, North Carolina. Still snowing in the big cities, especially in the northern western suburbs. This particular range snow line is starting to advance to the west here as warm air kind of wraps in off the ocean. Let's jump ahead 6 hours. And here's the forecast map for early tomorrow afternoon. By this time, the low is now starting to slide off the east coast. There's a lot of very warm waters, warmer than normal waters, situated just off the mid-Atlantic coastline. Low pressure areas tend to go to areas of least resistance. So it will tend to slide from hugging the coastline to off the coastline, seeking out the warmer waters and the lower pressures just off the mid-Atlantic coastline. Now, by this time, it's very likely to have changed over from all snow to sleet and freezing rain, perhaps even above freezing rain in the I-95 corridor region. It'll be harder for that to happen in the far northern and western suburbs, but even in the suburbs, the northern and western suburbs are very likely will be a period of sleet and freezing rain during the day tomorrow. Now, notice also this conveyor belt region starting to take shape here in the northwest flank of this particular low pressure area. This is wraparound snows that will play a role in this upcoming event late tomorrow and tomorrow night. By tomorrow evening, about 7 o'clock tomorrow evening, that coastal front starts to work its way back to the coast. It had moved from the east to the west. It'll kind of stop in its tracks right around the I-95 corridor and then move back as this wraparound snow takes over in the big cities. So there can be accumulating snow at the front end, followed by a period of sleet, freezing rain, rain in the middle, and then changing back to accumulating snow on the back end. Let's now jump ahead another 6 hours. This is forecast map for 1 o'clock in the morning, early Friday morning. That wraparound snow still extending all the way down to the D.C. metro region and points east, all the way through New Jersey. This is all in the form of snow by this time. Again, wraparound cold conveyor belt snow on the back side. So accumulating snow at the front end and the back end, maybe a mixed bag in the middle. And by the way, one other possibility is that there will be a thunderstorm somewhere mixed in here, perhaps with snow. A thunder snow is not a guarantee, but certainly is a possibility. Let's now finally jump ahead to Friday morning. And here it is, the Friday morning forecast map. Finally, snow ending here in the I-95 corridor. The snow can continue well into the night, Thursday night, causing some possible driving problems as late as early Friday morning. So a big storm coming, a big accumulating snow event for the northern and western suburbs of the big cities over the next 12 to 24 hours or so. Stay tuned to the SIWeather.com for updates later today. I'm meteorologist Paul Dorian.